Warning, the following podcast has been classified as insanely lucrative. Listener discretion is advised.
So I've been adding about $1,000 or a couple of $1,000s a month, every month, basically for the past 5 or 6 months. That's kind of been my trajectory with merch.
Your attention, please. Listening to the AM/PM podcast may cause recurring revenue streams and unfair advantages over your competitors. Other side effects may include fatter wallets, fired bosses, and longer vacations. Listen at your own risk. Here's your host, 7-figure entrepreneur and online marketing madman, Manny Coates. Manny Coates.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AM/PM podcast. My name is Manny Coates, and I will be your host, and this is the show where we discuss all things Amazon private label and how to generate recurring revenue streams 24 hours per day during the AM and the PM, hence the name of the show, AM/PM podcast. As a matter of fact, today I was looking at one of my products and it got moved into a different category, a gated category, one that you need permission to sell in. But my product is still live, still selling, and I'm not sure how this is all happening, but while I'm investigating this, I have been making money. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. So guys, today I'm really excited to have another merch episode. Okay, this is going to be a podcast on the Merch by Amazon program, the print on demand program. And this was actually recorded a few months back. Okay, so it's not brand new, but the information is amazing. And we were waiting to actually publish this until Amazon opened up the doors for everybody. So everybody could go in and apply and be running on the merch program right away. But they never did this, right? And it doesn't look like they're gonna do this until probably after the new year. So we wanna get this information out right now. We're not gonna wait any longer. We're gonna get this episode out, and we're gonna talk to a guy that just drops nuggets all over the place. So without further ado, let's get into the interview with Michael Essek. Hello, everybody. I am here with Michael Essek, a merch seller. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Manny. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
I have a lot of questions for you because you seem to be a pretty high-level seller. I wanted to actually ask you about that, just so that everybody is aware of where you're at with everything. And we've been talking about merch on our podcast and in our Facebook group. But why don't you tell the audience a little bit about when you started, what level you're at right now, and just a little bit of information about yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm currently a 4,000 tier seller. I actually have a couple of accounts. With my main account, I'm at 4,000. I also have a second account, which is running at, I think, 500 at the moment. Although that second account should be scaling up to 1,000 anytime now. So yeah, I've been doing merch since it launched, so October 2015. I got in there pretty early before the invite system came in and all that stuff. And was able to hit the ground running really, and scaled up pretty fast through the tiers. I've been at 4,000 for a couple of months, I think now. So waiting for that 8,000 scale up anytime. And yeah, that's kind of my history as the numbers go anyway.
Okay, that's awesome. So 4,000 and 500. Why do you have two accounts? Because you're the first person I've talked to that's actually doing it that way.
Yeah. So basically, it was kind of a backup plan. I don't know, how you guys kind of think of merch, but for me, it's because it's such a new system. There's always this kind of fear at the back of my mind that is merch going to drop? Are they going to close accounts? How many strikes on your account is it going to take before you get shut down? Those kind of things. So I wanted to set up a kind of backup account. So that's what I have going now currently. That's through, not through my name, it's actually through a family member's name, but we kind of run that as a separate account. And yeah, we've just been building that one up.
Okay.
So my number of designs, I should probably point out, well, those are my tiers. I actually only have 1,000 designs up on the 4,000 account, and I only have about 100 designs up on the 500 account. Those are my tier levels, but I'm not actually maxing those out, if you like.
Right. Yeah, and that's important to distinguish. A lot of people think, if someone's at 2,000 tier level, they have 2,000 shirts, and that might not be the case.
Yep.
So how many shirts? I mean, do you have a goal in terms of trying to upload or get a certain number of shirts online every single week?
Yeah, I don't have, as it were, much of a consistent plan. I kind of have a few different techniques and approaches to merch. I should probably say that I'm a designer by trade, so that was my That was my trade before I kind of got into T-shirts full time. So it's quick and relatively quick and easy for me to get designs up. So I have a few different techniques and approaches. I'm sure we'll get into those later in the podcast. But some days I wake up and I'll get through 3 or 4 designs in that day. Some days I'll wake up and get through 15 or 20. So it kind of depends on the ideas, kind of what I'm feeling. I'm kind of a trend rider in many ways. So I'm trying to spot what's current and ride those trends. But then at the same time, I'm kind of creating for the long term and doing some evergreen type designs as well. So I do a little bit of everything and try and kind of don't put all my eggs in one basket, but keep them spread out over a number of approaches, if you like.
Okay, smart. So with the tier levels that you're at, what kind of monthly sales volume levels are you at?
Yeah, so August I did, let me just pull up the numbers here so I can give you exact numbers. So I'm in the UK, so I use pounds, but I'll translate that to dollars. So I did about £6,000 from merch, which comes out at about $8,000 last month. In July, so I've been adding about $1,000 or a couple of $1,000 a month every month, basically for the past 5 or 6 months. That's kind of been my trajectory with merch.
Nice.
So currently we're looking at about 8,000 this month. It's probably going to be between $8,000 and $10,000, I would think.
Excellent. Are those sales numbers, or is that actual payouts to yourself?
No, that's actual profit to me, if you like. That's my income from merch. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. Those big numbers, especially how quickly people get to those numbers is just kind of amazing. But
yeah, a year really is all it's taken to get there. And I should probably say as well that most of my designs, so I've got 1,000 designs on the main account. Obviously, that's the one bringing in the most money. Those designs, 1,000 are up there today. But I would guess, maybe only 300 or 400 of those designs have ever sold. And it's really a much smaller number that's actually selling on a regular basis. So it's not that, I have 1,000 designs and all of them are selling, semi-regularly. It's really an 80-20 type situation.
Right. And you're from the UK, is that correct? You're in the UK right now?
Yes. Yeah. I'm from the UK and I'm in the UK, in Manchester.
So does the merch program have a UK store, or are you only selling on the USA store? I
am selling only on the USA store. Yeah, I think there are a couple of sellers who, if I'm correct, Amazon are kind of trialing it in the UK with a couple of guys. I've kind of caught wind of that on some of the forums and stuff, but I'm not one of those guys who's in that program yet. So fingers crossed that Amazon will be launching in the UK soon, but I'm doing okay just selling straight to the US at the moment. So obviously when they do launch in the UK, which I think is inevitable at some point, I'll be very happy, and we'll kind of hit the ground running there as well.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm selling to the US market. Yeah.
Okay, great. So if somebody's starting out, they go in. It's going to take a little while to get approved. At least right now, it looks like it's taking some people several months to get approved for merch.
Yeah.
But what do you recommend to those guys that are starting and they start at a 25 tier level and they've got to get enough sales coming in to get to that next tier? What's your process on that?
I think, there's a number of different approaches, but I suppose job one is to make sure that you get up to the next tier level as soon as possible. So there's a couple of resources out there. I know that there's a seller, I've just forgotten his name here, Daniel Cordhill, who did a series on this. There's a couple of videos out on how he would up. And there's some great ideas in there. Things like if you've got a team or some kind of youth group or church group or something that need a lot of T-shirts quickly, then obviously you can create a design for them and they can order 25 or whatever, however many they need, and that should scale you up almost immediately. If you don't have, a community or something like that you can immediately tap into, then you can do things like keep your prices, as low as possible on your designs and hope that you're going to pick up, quick sales because you're the lowest price in the market. Or you could try and hop on a trend. That's easier said than done, but if you do have experience of that and you know what you're doing, then that can be a quick way to scale up. And actually on my second account, I was able to scale up pretty much within the first couple of weeks, I think, just because I had a trending design that just kind of blew up and got me to that next tier really quickly. So those kind of things, just, thinking about how you can tap into a particular community or something that you've got an advantage in that will allow you to get those sales numbers up really quick.
Okay, nice. Very smart. And you talked about jumping on those trends, and you also mentioned you have, your evergreen products. Can you tell us a little bit about that, like trends versus evergreen, and when you jump on things, when you know it's right to actually get on something and how to test it and how to keep out of trouble, I guess, by not pushing the wrong thing?
I think there's a couple of ways. I suppose the most useful thing to do, or the most kind of surefire way, is to build designs on things that you know about, something you know, and obviously that's different for different people. People come at it with, they're members of different communities and stuff, and people think of trends and they think of the huge trends, the things like, for example, a couple of months ago it would be Pokemon Go. Just this week, there's a lot of Trump stuff with basket of deplorables. I don't know if you saw that Hillary comment and all the shirt. There's actually a merch shirt which was #1 in the clothing category yesterday. So people are saying that was maybe selling 300 plus a day yesterday. So those kind of things, those are the big, kind of top level trends, if you like. But people don't really think about the fact that within communities, there's trends as well. Within niche communities, whether that's sports, could be particular kind of online communities, gamer communities, things like this. So that's kind of where I focus my attention, is particular communities, one thing that's going on, and hopping on a trend there. So I think, if you know something, you're going to have the confidence then to create a design and kind of trust that design can do well for you. I wouldn't recommend people try to jump on things that are trending, especially if there are merch shirts already in existence, because you are fighting against, an absolute sea of people who flooded the market with merch recently. There's a lot of copycats. There's a lot of people who are in there now. And unless you're really first or second to a trend, it's going to be very difficult to compete with kind of the big level trends. So if you've not got knowledge, if you've not got a particular kind of advantage, I would try and stay away from trending topics and think more about how you can do what we would call evergreen content. So designs that might come up seasonally, or designs that will kind of work all year round, or that people might just be looking for, kind of randomly, or they might see a particular funny T-shirt on the internet and they just might search it. Those kind of things that are more kind of long term. Obviously, they're not going to generate as many sales in a short period of time, but over the long term, you'll if you've got enough of these designs, obviously that kind of volume is going to help, and you'll have a kind of steady stream of income coming in.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're going after a particular trend, you're kind of niching it down to something very small that most people might not know about, but it hits a select group of people, and you can drive that traffic to your shirt and get those sales.
Yeah. And I should probably say that there's, even with trending stuff, it's still a case of, throw ideas out there and see what sticks. That's why I wouldn't say spend all your time with trending stuff, because a lot of what I do, a lot of ideas that come to me, they fall flat and they don't sell anything. But of course, the beauty of merch is that the designs are still there, and you could have kind of spotted a trend a few months in advance, or even years in advance, and it could hit later, and you could pick up the sales.
Okay.
So
now, if a trend is actually short-lived, like it's going to be a trend, and after a month, no one will care anymore. Is that a shirt? If you think it could be hot, but after a month it's going to be dead, would you still go after that, knowing that it's going to take up one of your slots?
Yeah, I think especially for me when I'm at the levels I'm at with the tiers. So, spots are not a concern to me. I've got enough space, inventory to create, 50, 100 designs that don't actually generate, because, I've got enough kind of space to create more. So that's not a concern for me. I can understand that would be if you're a smaller tier seller. And that's why I would say maybe if you're on a smaller tiers and you don't have particular knowledge of a kind of trending niche, then just stay away from it, because you're unlikely to pick up, much in the way of sales from that.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it's funny, when you talk to people, everybody has their own strategy and they have different tactics. And then sometimes I'll hear one thing and then somebody will say something else and then I'll check and I'll be like, oh man, I was taught a certain way and that's the way I went. And then you learn something new and it actually benefits you.
Well, it's such a new marketplace. It's only a year old. It's not even a year old. We're talking September. And it is the Wild West. I think when I first came into this, I didn't have experience selling on Amazon. I'd never sold on Amazon before. I'd sold on other marketplaces, on Etsy and through various other websites, but never on Amazon. And when I joined with merch, I kind of expected, because it's Amazon, these guys are going to have their ducks all in a row. Everything's going to be, kind of completely professional and they're going to be like on top of everything. And it's just not the case. I don't mean to kind of criticize the team or anything at merch. They're doing a great job, but I think they had no idea how fast this program would blow up on them. And it is a bit wild, wild west. There's ways around things. There's hooks and tricks. And, the merch team are kind of tightening down and clamping down on stuff. But it's still a case of, it's a little bit early days of the internet, early days of Google and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So there's opportunities there, but there's also kind of the threat of Amazon kind of tightening and clamping down. So, it is a bit Wild West.
Yeah, for sure. And well, you had mentioned that, the first person that gets in on a trend is going to have that, the first mover's advantage. Do you have systems in place where you can actually see something and then be live, before everybody else and get that first mover's advantage?
I'd love to say that I had some kind of software or something that spotted these things for me, but it's not the case. I'm just a bit of an internet consumer, I guess, and I'm on Twitter, I'm on Reddit, I'm on these websites, and places where you can see trends kind of bubbling along. And I think for me personally, I try to hop on things that I think are going to be, even if they're not going to be kind of trending mega topics, they're kind of phrases, or terms that will kind of have legs to them, so they might be big in a month or two, or you can kind of see the trend going up, and that's the kind of thing I try to hop on. And I've had things where I just had one yesterday actually, where it wasn't a trending topic as such, but it was something that was in the news, and I had particular access to a community that I thought might respond well to a particular design. So I was able to create a design. It took me maybe half an hour to get the design up. I posted it in this particular community, and the community loved it. It just went through the roof on there. Sold maybe 30 or 40 shirts of that yesterday. So it was almost a trend that I kind of kicked off, if you like. Now today the sales have dropped significantly, but if there's ways you can do things like that if you've got access to particular communities that can respond well. And that's not a daily occurrence for me by any means, but usually I'll have something like that a month where I either hop on something or are able to kind of, kind of get something together and target a particular niche and get a design there that they respond well to.
Okay. And when do you consider a design a success? Like, is one sale per week on a shirt, is that a dud or a good shirt?
Personally, I think, I said before that the spots are not a concern for me. So honestly, if a design obviously if a design blows up and you get, 20 sales a day or something, that's an amazing success. That's great. But I do like logging in and seeing that there's these designs that kind of just every day, it'll just be one sale a day or one sale every other day or something. And that regular trickle of sales, especially when it's spread out over the course of 5 or 6 months, that's what I'd call, steady. And obviously with Amazon, the more sales you make, the higher the rankings, the more reviews, the more, it kind of a circle of, a circle of trust, whatever, that kind of pumps you up and gets you up the rankings. And so that kind of thing is great. That just kind of, keeps the stream flowing, if you like. And I think that's what I've seen with my merch earnings is as you add more designs and as the designs that you've added months ago get higher up the rankings and get more kind of embedded in the Amazon system, that's when you start to see the kind of upward, growth that I've been seeing.
Hey guys, Manny Coates here. If you've been following my podcast, you know I'm a huge fan of the Helium 10 tools for Amazon sellers. I only use the best tools out there, and the Helium 10 suite of tools are, in my opinion, best in class. Now, just because I'm the founder of Helium 10 doesn't mean that's all I use, right? I go where the money's at, and if there's a tool on the market that I haven't made and that tool helps me make money, I'll use it, and I'll talk about it here on the podcast, and I'll even link to it in our tools section at the ampmpodcast.com website. But I can honestly say that there's no place that I know of where you can get all the important tools that an FBA seller would need in one place, where the tools work with one another to help you save time and make you a lot of money. Now, the Helium 10 tools have had a huge hand in helping me go from zero to over $1 million in Amazon sales in just 10 months. Okay, keyword research, listing optimization, and a super tool called 5K Checker that makes sure that the words in my listings, okay, the front end and the back end, are actually indexed by Amazon. And guys, if you're not checking this, you're leaving money on the table for sure, because Amazon is always tweaking their search engine. Okay, so I always use 5K Checker every single month on every single one of my listings to ensure that my listings are still indexed for my keywords and that I'm still pulling in customers like crazy. If you're a longtime listener, you know I'll never use a tool unless it can save me a lot of time or it's going to make me a lot of money. So I'm confident Helium 10 will do this for you guys, all right? There's a money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Check it out. Head over to helium10.com. Helium10.com. That's helium10.com. So if you have a shirt that is selling 1 or 2 units per day, every day, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
this is going to be a consistent earner. Do you do anything with that? Do you look at variations or trying to create more versions of that style?
I would say like it took me a while actually. Obviously, we're all learning with merch. Because it's a new platform. One of the things that it took me a while to get was the idea of varying my prices because straight off when it first launched, I think Amazon said, oh, you should price things at $19.99. So that's what I did, and I think that's what a lot of people did. I just priced every design I had at $19.99. And then I think a few months in, somebody posted in one of the Facebook groups that they'd increased their prices to $25, I think, and not seen any drop in income or sales. So I just did exactly what they said. I changed every design to $25 and didn't see any drop in sales. Everything kind of, carried on as normal. And
Wow.
it took me a while to actually kind of realize that, different designs are going to sell at different price points. And there's obviously, like you were saying, creating variations. I had a trending design a couple of months ago. I was able to get in. I was kind of the first merch shirt there. And I suddenly thought, other people are going to be hopping on this soon. And obviously what they're going to do is lower their prices. Why don't I do that? So I went in and created a couple of other, exact copies of the design at different price points as kind of an experiment to see, what price point sells best. And found out that the lower prices actually didn't sell as well as the kind of $19.99 price point or around that area. So that's one way that you can kind of, I guess, protect yourself against copycats and that kind of thing. If you're first and you think this is going to be a big seller, then if it only takes you 15 minutes or something to duplicate the design a couple of times and change your price points and something like that, then that's worth doing if it means that you kind of own the space for that trending design.
Right. So you're saying then that when someone does a search for whatever this trend is as a shirt, you might have 3, 4, 5, 6 designs that all pop up, and they're all they're in your account, right? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah. So they're all in my account. They'd be under different brand names and that kind of thing, and they'd have different text usually just to vary it. But yeah, they would be all the same design effectively.
Identical? You're not changing anything? It's just under a different brand name and the text obviously and title's different, but the shirt itself is the same?
Sometimes I would, so for example, if you've got a design that works well on a dark shirt, I would switch it around so that it works well on a light shirt, so change the colors, or do something like just vary the size of the actual design. So sometimes do a kind of smaller chest size, and then other times try and fill the canvas completely.
Okay.
So those kind of things, vary it slightly, but you don't have to. But I think it does pay sometimes to just kind of give the customers that choice when you're
Right.
offering a number of designs. Yeah.
So are you doing this mainly for the customer so they can see it's like from 6 different brands, so they think it's 6 different companies with pricing, or is there also some of it to do with Amazon? Do they not like, for example, if you have 5 or 6 of the same shirts under the same brand, but are they okay with it being under different brands?
I don't think Amazon are concerned with that at the moment yet. I don't think they're interested in that. I think, I don't think it bothers them. So from my point of view, varying the brands is kind of a way to protect yourself from copycats who would, if all your shirts are under the same brand name, then obviously if a copycat comes along, he can click your brand name and he can see all your shirts. He can quickly view all your designs and could simply copy them if he wanted to. So if you've got a different brand name for every single design, then that's a kind of protection against that.
Do you actually have like hundreds of brands?
Probably, yeah. Probably, yeah. At this point, I do. I'd never actually looked at the brands, but yeah, in most cases, especially with trending designs and that kind of thing, I'm trying to protect myself against copycats as much as is possible.
Right. How do you come up
yeah.
with the brand names then? Are you just kind of randomly picking them? Do they matter to you? Are they keyword specific so they help with the the search results?
They are keyword specific, yeah. So especially with, it does seem to be the case that Amazon is counting the brand name as a ranking factor. I've found that, and a few people have reported the same thing. So try and get the keywords and the key phrases in the brand name. That tends to help. But on the other side, I do have brands where I have, I have other websites. I sell designs on other websites as well. So for some of my designs, I keep them under the same brand just for kind of a brand identity type of thing and kind of ownership of those designs. So I do a bit of both, really. It kind of depends on the design, whether it's a trending topic, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right. And now you said you're a Photoshop guy, or you're a designer, I think is what you said. So
yeah.
Somebody who's coming in and they're not artistic, they don't know what to do. Would you recommend they go out and try to learn to do that, or outsource the designs? And if you had a friend that came in and said, I want to do this, but I have no artistic skill, Michael, what should I do? Where would you recommend they go and in order to get to that 25 tier, maybe 100 tier level in terms of shirts and have good designs, right?
Yeah. Great question. This is where I see merch going. I think, merch is a new platform. And so far with merch, it's been a case of, you don't need to be a great designer to sell well. Obviously, if you are a good designer, you're probably going to sell more, but you don't really need to. And, you can put up a simple text design, and people have been having great success with just, white text designs, just, that anyone can do. The way I see things going is, merch is already getting crowded. One of the ways that people are going to be able to differentiate themselves and rise above the crowd is through better design. And I think as the program goes on, you're going to see those designs that are poorer, that are simpler, are just not going to cut it as things go on. And I think it's going to be the better designers that rise above. So that may sound like bad news to people who are not designers, but you can still, if you've got someone who's a designer, or you can invest some money in hiring someone to create some designs. I think it would be worth your time, especially if you're at a 25 tier, if you're just kind of starting out, see if you can, work a system like that where you can find a designer who works with you well, who's not too expensive, and who you can give work to and get it back in a timely manner, and just kind of test the waters that way. Because I think, if you're not a designer, if you've never designed anything before in your life, if you're not someone who's looking to go down that kind of career path to be design focused, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's not the best opportunity for you. Maybe you have skills that will be better applied elsewhere. But if you are a designer, or you do have, maybe you're a young person with some time to invest in learning Photoshop and design concepts and that kind of thing, then absolutely go full speed ahead, get some Photoshop courses, get the software and start learning and doing that kind of thing. But if that's not you, then my advice would be find someone who can design for you, or, maybe this isn't the opportunity for you. Maybe it's not, the best kind of place for you. Maybe there's other opportunities on Amazon or other online spaces to make money. Maybe merch isn't right for everyone.
Okay. And would you recommend people go to places like 99 Designs or Upwork or Fiverr? And how much would you, if you had a friend doing this, what would you say, you keep your limit to in terms of paying for a design?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on kind of what your plan is, what your long-term goal is. For example, I have a designer that I work with. I do like 99% of the designs myself, but I do have a guy who I turn to when things get a bit complicated where, I know that I can't really produce it at the same level this guy can. And I'll tell you outright, I pay that guy $50 a design, which most people will be like, what? But it works for me, and it actually pays dividends because, I've had designs on some of the biggest shirt sites, places like T-Fury and Busted Tees, kind of T-shirt websites in their own right. Obviously, these designs also sell well on merch. And because that's kind of my goal, and that's my, I have a kind of long-term plan to sell these designs on various places and for years and months to come, that makes sense for me. One tip I would share with people is, Fiverr and those kind of places, you get what you pay for. But 99 Designs is an interesting place because you can go on there and you can set up an account and just kind of have a look around at what people are designing because a lot of the contests are public, so you can see what designers are producing. And I've used 99 Designs a few times like this to actually go and see and kind of scout out, where are some quality designers, and then try and contact those guys outside of 99 Designs and say, hey, saw your work and I'd like to work with you and I can pay you this much. The reason this works is because if you're a designer and you're on 99 Designs, you're not guaranteed to actually get paid. So these designers are producing designs, for free, basically. And they might not get paid. And if you come along and say, hey, I saw this design and I'd like to work with you and I'm going to pay you, I'm going to pay you for some work. These guys tend to respond quite well to that in my experience. So that's just a little tip, a way to scout out decent designers and get them for, you're not going to get them for peanuts like Fiverr levels, but somewhere between that, under the $50 mark, you should be able to find some decent quality designers there who are going to be able to do, what you ask of them. And, they won't charge you the earth.
Okay, great. Now, you had mentioned some other sites outside of merch, like T-Fury. Would you recommend to new sellers to stay on merch initially, or would you say, hey, you know what, don't put your eggs all in one basket, diversify, get out there, and if you're already creating the design, put it out on multiple sites? I mean, what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, my process, the way I've worked, is to basically get everything up everywhere. And now the main sites I use, so that obviously merch is my main kind of source of income. Next in line is Redbubble. I don't know if people are aware of that site, but it's very easy to get started. You add an account for free. You can upload work and it will just kind of be up there straight away. They sell on various different products, phone cases, laptops, mugs, all kind of stuff like that. So I would definitely recommend people get on Redbubble. TeePublic is another one that does very well for me. So both those sites, if you've got designs that are selling on Amazon, I would put them on Redbubble and TeePublic because those are going to sell, those are going to sell probably, at a decent level on those websites as well. Now there's kind of the more artistic level. So if you talk about sites like T-Fury and Busted Tees, these are places that, these are top quality kind of artistic level designs, really. So if you're not a designer, there's not much point kind of messing with those sites because you're probably not going to see, these are sites where they actually have to select your design. So you submit designs to them and they select it. So not every design goes up on those sites. And if you're not a designer, if you're not kind of someone who can do this and has done this before, then those are probably not the sites for you. But Redbubble, TeePublic, those are two that are great to use. Designed by Humans is another one that's quite good. I actually have a blog post on my website, michaelessek.com, where I kind of break down various sites that I've used and kind of break them down into different categories and say which ones, work for different people, different industries. So definitely check that out if you're looking for a kind of breakdown of different sites to consider.
Okay, great. I've got a lot of questions here. You're full of information, Michael. You answer one question, and I have two more. We're going to try to keep this under an hour, but yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff here. So let's go back to launching, though, because a lot of people that are listening to our podcast are going to be private label FBA sellers, and they're hearing merch for the first time. And they're like, wow, this sounds really awesome, right? Because I can get in without having to source products and bring products in, and there's no dollars to get in as long as I can find an artist and so forth. But they're at 25 designs when they start. And you had mentioned earlier that you've done a split test where you've priced things high and priced things lower, and you find that your higher priced items are selling better in most cases. But if you're just starting out and you're trying to get your foot in the door, so to speak, on through search results and so forth, do you recommend that people still start high? Does that matter? Or would you say drop the price as low as possible? Or where would you go there?
Yeah, I think in general, you're probably going to find the cheaper end does tend to attract the volume. So if your goal is to tier up, is to get as many sales in a shorter time as possible, then price low, and that should mean you get more sales. Obviously, what it does mean also is that you're not getting as much profit as you would be getting. But in the early days, that's not your main concern. Your main concern is getting the sales. So yeah, I would price low. I wouldn't price too low. I would never price anything below $17.99 personally, unless I was especially trying hard to rank on a trending topic or something. But yeah, I mean, if you have a look now, there's people selling designs at $10 and $11. I would only do that if you're trying to rank, if you're trying to scale up your tiers. Otherwise, I would just stay well away from that, because you're not making any money, right? And you're not actually generating any profit.
Okay. You want to get to the next tier, so you have to sell 100 shirts. If you have friends and family, just people coworkers, whatever it is, and they go in and you have one person that buys, let's say, 25 shirts. So you have 4 people that end up buying all of your, all 100 shirts that you need, okay? Because it's for business, right? It's a business shirt you created. Does that get you to the next tier automatically when it's just 4 people that bought all of your inventory, or does it not work like that? Is Amazon, I guess, skipping that kind of a process?
As far as I know, it should do. It should get you to the next tier. I think, like I said before, I don't think Amazon are like a hawk on this program yet on everything. And I think things like that, they're not really noticing, or they've not got people watching that kind of stuff yet. So I would be surprised if you had someone order 100 shirts, if that didn't scale you up to the next level almost immediately.
Okay.
I've not verified that myself, so don't hold me to that, but I would be surprised if that wasn't the case.
Okay. It might be an interesting way to get cheap shirts for a business and get to the next tier, kind of all in the same strike, right? Just get going very quickly.
Absolutely. If you've got someone who needs a bulk order of shirts, or if you need a bulk order of shirts, or, you can buy your own shirts, or probably not through your same Amazon account, but get a friend to buy, 100 shirts or 25 shirts or something. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of an investment, but in the grand scale of things, if you think merch is going to be a winner for you long term, that could be worth it as well.
Okay, great. So we're talking about the designs being awesome. You want to make sure that the quality is good, but probably just as important in terms of discovery are the keywords that you're using in your listing, right?
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Tell me, you got the title. I think most people know you got your title, you got your bullet points in your description. But unlike Amazon FBA, when you're doing private label products, you don't have, at least right now, you don't have the back-end search terms and places where you can put additional keywords. Everything you've got is in your title. And then unless it's changed, Amazon gives you 4 bullet points, but they fill in 2 for you, right? So you only have 2 available to actually write stuff in. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing to mention would be the brand name. So you've got brand name, you've got title, you've got 2 bullet points, 2 description bullet points that you can use. And those are the only things that count as far as ranking within Amazon. So those are the places you want to get your keywords in. The description, I fill out my description in most times. I usually just take one of my bullet points and replicate it, but that's not going to count towards Amazon. It might help you with Google, with wider SEO, but not with Amazon's own ranking as far as we know.
Are you talking about the duplication of the keywords, or are you just talking about description itself just won't index, won't rank?
Sorry, yeah, let me explain. So I'm talking about you have a description box within your merch listing, after your two bullet points, which is a place where you can just kind of give a description of the shirt, and that doesn't contribute towards your Amazon ranking in any sense. So you can leave that blank, and it won't make a difference as to how you rank within Amazon. I was
going to say they might have changed that, or I don't know if they've changed it recently. I know that when we were experimenting with our merch account, it was hit or miss. Like sometimes the description on one particular shirt would index, and only portions of the description, and then other times it didn't. We couldn't figure out why the description was ranking or not ranking on certain shirts. Not sure if you've seen that at all.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, and I think Amazon are testing a lot of things as well with merch, and so there's a lot of bugs with kind of pricing and things at the moment. Amazon will iron it out, but yeah, I think that's probably the case. I would always use your description space anyway, because why not? It's just a space to put some more kind of descriptive words in, even if it's just for the customer to try and, help you get the sale. Obviously I wouldn't leave that blank. But is it contributing to rankings? Kind of jury's out at the moment, I guess.
Right. Okay. And so how do you actually determine what keywords you're going to be using for your shirt?
Yeah, I have a couple of approaches, and I've done some experimentation in different ways, but I think you had a podcast just a couple of weeks ago, I think, where you were talking about phrase matching within titles and that kind of thing. And I've found that has become more significant. So I would definitely advise people to go and listen to that podcast of yours if they haven't already. And that, because that does seem to apply to merch, which is that if you get the phrase within your title, so the exact phrase that people are going to be searching for, that's going to help you. And I would just kind of repeat the same phrase everywhere you can, really. So if you can somehow get that into your brand, into your title, and into both descriptive bullet points, then that should help. One of the other techniques that people use and that I use is to try and get the kind of generic terms within. So, for example, someone might search Pokemon shirt, boys Pokemon shirt, or something like that, or kids Pokemon shirt, and you might have a shirt that's just a Pokemon shirt. Obviously, I should caveat this: you shouldn't have any shirts that are Pokemon shirts, because that's copyright infringement, trademark infringement.
We'll talk about that. Yeah,
we'll talk about that. Yeah, but so you shouldn't have that. But as an example, let's say you have just a Pokemon T-shirt and your title is Pokemon T-shirt. In the description, then I would include something that says something like, "This is a Pokemon T-shirt. It's great for boys, girls, kids, adults of all ages, and it's available in various colors, and it makes a great gift," or something like that. So you're kind of getting some keywords in there that people might search for along with the title of the T-shirt, or the title of the topic, if you like, just to kind of cover all those extra bases that you might find.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's some good strategy. So what are some of the mistakes you're seeing people making, new people that come in?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing is, I don't know whether you class this as a mistake, but obviously there's copycats, which is an issue with merch at the moment. And what they're doing is just flooding, especially trending topics. So if they see a design that's selling well, a merch design that's selling well, they'll just come in and duplicate it. Sometimes copy the artwork exactly. Other times maybe recreate it, and just create as many designs as they can that are on the same topic. And I just think people are wasting their time there. Maybe that's worth your while if you can sell T-shirts at $12 and make a few dollars profit each time and eke out tiny bits of profit. But for most of us, that's not going to work. And I think people hopping on trends, especially where there's merch shirts that are selling well, you're already late to the party if there's a merch shirt trending. That's not the place to be spending your energies. Unless you've got a particular angle that could really work, I would just stay away from something that's already trending, because, you're going to pick up the dregs. You're going to be kind of, you're going to be second or third or fourth. You're going to be down the line. And Amazon can, customers will only scroll through so many pages of T-shirts before they make a decision of whether, which one they're going to buy. And I think a lot of people are kind of just trying to hop on trends, rather than doing the kind of harder work of doing a bit of research and trying finding niches and opportunities. And I think that's where I see a lot of people making a mistake with merch when they first get in. And I think they could do a lot. They could get a kind of a more sure foundation for themselves if they would do the legwork of doing a bit of research or targeting a niche or doing something they know about, rather than trying to hop on the latest trend.
Right, yeah. Like you said, by the time you jump on, you're not the only one that's seeing that trend. There's 1,000 other people that are seeing it, and you're going to have dozens of people creating the same shirt, and it's just a mess.
Exactly.
So how do you protect yourself, though, Michael? I mean, if you've got a design, you just paid $50 for it, right? And other people might have paid more because they don't have the designer that you have. And somebody goes out there and copies it exactly. Is it worth your time to even do anything with that issue? Or do you just business as usual, move on? Or do you have tactics to protect yourself?
Yeah, great question. And something that I've been wrestling with, especially the past month. I've had designs that were stolen and were selling really, really well. And obviously I'm not getting any money from that, and it's frustrating. But so a couple of things I would say. First off, you use the tactics I already kind of mentioned. So if you can get if you've got a design that's brand new that you think is going to do well, then take the time to kind of add a few more listings, variations of it, and make sure that you're kind of owning the space as much as you can in the early days. If you have a straight copycat, then I am still reporting those. I know some people are kind of like, oh, is it worth it? Or, is it worth my time to report them? In my opinion, it is, because especially if you're selling in that space and you were there first, you still got an advantage there. And if someone kind of comes in, copies you exactly, and is starting to kind of eat into your sales, then obviously you want to get that taken down. Now, Amazon's been struggling with the actual ability, the capacity, I think, of taking copyrighted designs down. But they are getting better at it. This past week, I've had a few taken down, and it does make a difference. So I would still do that. Amazon have got a copyright reporting procedure. It's fairly straightforward to go through, and the merch team are aware of this problem. And if you now send an email to the merch team and say, hey, I reported this design like a week ago and it's not been taken down. Can you look into it? I'm finding that is now, that's making sure that designs are getting taken down quite promptly now. So I am doing that, but obviously it depends on the number of designs you have. I only do that with designs that are kind of trending and trending topics where I can like literally see the money leaving my pocket, as it were.
Yeah.
But with kind of the other stuff, I'm not taking an active view. But if I happen to Google or search it in Amazon and find that there's a copycat, I'll report it, because it takes maybe 5 minutes. And I think what's a kind of a side note to that is, you want people to get the message that copycatting doesn't work in the long term. And obviously it's the Wild West with Amazon now, we know, with merch. But long term, you don't want that to become the norm. And I think it makes sense for people to report things, because if these accounts get cancelled ultimately, that's going to be good for genuine creators and genuine designers and sellers, that people get the message that you can't just go on Amazon and just copy and make money that way, that you will get your account shut down, that it becomes a cat and mouse game, and that you can't win in the long term, or you're going to be constantly, hustling to try and make these few dollars that you make. And
Right.
Hopefully in the long term, that means that the copycats think, oh, this isn't worth it. Let's move on to the next, the next craze, whatever it is, the next way to make easy money online.
So to report a violation, do you need to have a trademark? Because we've had violation strikes before where when it comes in, it's because of some phrase, right?
Yeah.
I used an example before, like gym rat, and the term gym rat is trademarked. So are you doing trademarks? And if not, how do you get Amazon to actually, how do you convince them that you're the copyright owner on that particular design?
Yeah, so with me, it's I'm not doing trademarks. All I'm interested in taking down is people who have copied my design, what you would call pixel for pixel. So they've found my design either on merch or on another website, and they've taken that design into either Photoshop or Illustrator and literally replicated it. There's ways you can do that within Illustrator that's quite straightforward. And a lot of my designs, they are. T-shirt designs in general are pretty easy to duplicate, because they're quite bold lines, bright colors. It's quite easy usually to duplicate. So if I see someone that's done that, then I report that and I say, usually I'll point Amazon to a website I have where I have all my designs listed. So this is a kind of website where I put my designs on. It kind of serves a few purposes. So it ranks in Google usually for the design term, and then I can kick them to the various places where I sell that design. So what I've started doing is publishing my design first on that website. That tells, it publishes the date when it was published and displays the design. So then I can say to Amazon, this guy's stolen my design. He took it from this website. I can show you when I published this design and, it's copyright infringement. You have to take it down. I've given you the evidence. And 9 times out of 10, that works and the design gets removed. So that's what I'm dealing with. It's a straightforward kind of copyright infringement exercise. It's not trademarks. It's not intellectual property or anything. It's only when someone's taken my design and copied it exactly.
That's very smart. I love the idea that you're time stamping it on a page somewhere so that when Amazon comes to you and says, well, how do we know? And you're like, look, here's the proof. I published this 3 months ago before I even came to you guys on a copyright infringement. So that's smart. In terms of trademarking, are you planning on doing any kind of trademarking? And what would it take, I guess, Michael, to actually make it worth trademarking? Because it's costly and it takes a long time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Personally, I don't think I'm going to do any of that. I don't see it being worth my while. By the time you've got a trademark registered, especially if it's kind of trending stuff, the trend's probably already passed because it takes a while to get a trademark through, from what I understand. It doesn't take days; it takes weeks or months.
Months, yeah, almost a year, almost.
A year, well, exactly, yeah. So if you had a basket of deplorables trademark that you wanted to register, good luck in the first place. But then, it's going to take a year. No one's going to be talking about that in a year's time. At least I don't expect they will be. So, trademarking, only if you have a brand or something that you're really, really working from. Otherwise, as far as it goes with like trying to trademark a phrase or something like that, I just can't see it being really worth your while. And it's probably, worth your while trying to find ways of selling that design that you've created.
If anybody that's listening is interested in the trademarking, the potential for trademarking something from the filing to what is involved, we did a podcast episode with private label attorney Susie Hickson. You guys can go to the AMPM podcast site or on iTunes and check it out. It's like 90 minutes of trademark stuff, and it's very in-depth, very detailed. So check that out and see if it's worth it. For private label, it's certainly probably worth it with when you're doing thousands of designs. I guess you better make sure that shirt is like one of your runaway hits and you're doing, a lot. You're making a lot of money off of it.
Yeah.
But cool. So you know what? I mean, we've talked about a lot of cool things here. I think you provided just an amazing amount of value, Michael. Is there anything else you want to add that I didn't ask or that we didn't cover?
I'd probably just say, I think the merch, it's early days with merch. Like we said, it's kind of the Wild West. And I think that maybe puts people off a little bit of getting involved. And, I would certainly say to people, especially if you've got kind of an advantage, if you've got niches that you know about in detail that you can target, or you've got, you're a designer with ideas, you're a designer who can create very quickly and jump on things. You should really, really try and get involved now, because I think, the merch platform, it's really just at the beginning stages. I don't know if you know about this. There was a kind of questionnaire that went out last week with Amazon asking questions about where people wanted to see merch go, different products that they would we'd like to see and stuff. So I think certainly Amazon is taking this seriously now. I think they're probably seen, a year in, I don't know how much money this has made Amazon, but it's got to be way above their original expectations. And I think, we're just going to see it grow and grow. There's going to be new products. There's going to be all kinds of new, ways of making money with merch. So especially if you're a designer, or if you've got an advantage, or if you know a designer, let them know about this opportunity, because I've been selling on other websites, but I've never seen anything that can generate income quite as fast and as consistently as Amazon. And I think people should really kind of get on board if they're not on board already, and don't be put off by the fact that, it is a bit rough around the edges, and there's there's copycats and there's all kinds of these issues. There's money to be made and there's opportunities if you're willing to kind of invest the time.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, the email that came out talked about all these different products, but that they're going to be potentially expanding out to. But they also mentioned pay-per-click or advertising, which at the moment you can't do, right? There's no way to promote.
Right, yeah.
So that's going to open up the door for a ton of people that are have something of value, and instead of just throwing it out there on Amazon and saying, man, I hope someone types in this keyword, now I can actually advertise to people that are looking for this. And if my product design or my shirt design is fantastic compared to everybody else's design, then people will probably buy your product over the other products.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be huge. And then what about, since I'm talking about advertising, one of my last questions to you would be, are you advertising off of Amazon anywhere? Are you bringing in any traffic from other sources?
No, not consistently. I think I mentioned earlier about like the design I had yesterday where I had a particular niche where I was able to tap into the community and make some sales that way. But in general, that's not the case. So almost everything is organic. I've dipped my toes into Facebook advertising. I've had some limited success there. So I know it can work, but I'm not really a kind of advertising guy. These advertiser types, they're all into testing and analytics and like A/B testing and all this stuff. It just kind of fries my head. I'm just kind of a designer. So I do a little bit here and there, but no, for the most part, I'm relying on organic and I'm relying on ideas and trends and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I would like to kind of get a bit more confident in that and get some more income coming that way. So hopefully if merch launches that kind of facility where you could advertise the merch shirts within Amazon, then that'd be great.
Fantastic. If people want to find out more about you helping them or they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so I have a website, michaelessek.com, so michaelessek.com, or you can find me on Twitter at Michael Essek. I have a weekly newsletter that goes out every Tuesday with secret tips and tricks on how to sell more t-shirts online. So if you're looking at getting into merch or other websites and you're looking at t-shirts in particular right now, then definitely sign up on there and get my secret tips and tricks. And just follow me on Twitter and I'll kind of help you, hopefully guide people through the pits and the downfalls of selling online and help you sell more t-shirts.
Awesome. Yeah, we got a year's worth of knowledge squished down into under an hour. So this was awesome. There was a lot of golden nuggets in here. I hope people took notes. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Manny.
Yeah, I hope to have you back on again. Maybe when you get to the next tier and you're like, hey, Manny, I'm at 20,000.
Oh, wow.
Whatever the number might be by then.
Yeah, well, we'll see after Christmas how that goes. And then, you can get me back on. But thanks for having me, Manny. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
So guys, I'm sure you probably have a lot of questions. So we set up a new Facebook group specifically for merch. Okay, so if you want to get in there and start talking to people about the merch program, head over to Facebook and type in Merch Elite. We're going to link it in the show notes. But Merch Elite, that is the name of the Facebook group. And you'll be one of the first ones in there to join us. It was just set up, and I think it'll grow pretty quickly if there's interest. So look forward to seeing you in there. Guys, if you're interested in getting designs made, I have guys that have been working with me for years. I have an office that these guys work in, and literally it's been years. They've created dozens of video games on the mobile space for me, and they also do all of the t-shirt designs that we have, okay? So thousands of designs at this point, and they work with my brother Mike on the merch program. But I want to make these guys available to you. The way it's going to work is you can block them out in 80-hour blocks. The hourly rates are reasonable. Where you're going to find out more and get in touch with them is over at a website called merchartists.com. So it's the word merch, M-E-R-C-H, and then the word artist, A-R-T-I-S-T-S. .com. Go to the contact form there. You can also see the design, some of the designs that they did with the shirts, but use the contact form, contact Dan over there, and then he can talk to you about whatever it is you need. So if you want to create shirts, perfect. He can set that up for you. If you want to get into the mobile space and make video games, perfect. He can set you up there as well. So anyways, just wanted to put that out there. It is an additional service that you can look into. And so if you have no design skills, you don't need any. This one in particular is the one that I use now. I'm still using them. So fantastic service. Check it out, merchartist.com. And yeah, go crush it. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely check out episode number 80. That's where I interview Glenn Zubia, also on the merch program. And definitely check out episodes 83 and 84. 83 is all about brand gating and how you need to get your products locked up so nobody else can sell, right? To get rid of those hijackers. And episode 84 is an episode on UpFund and how I raised $56,000 in 2 weeks to fund my Christmas inventory. And if you'd like to take your business to the next level, you need to get into a big group where you can ask questions and get answers quickly. That group is called the FBA High Rollers. That's where I hang out. That's where everybody's hanging out. There's over 13,000 Amazon sellers in there, and we are active. So check it out. Go to Facebook, type in FBA High Rollers, and you'll see us pop up there. Or you can go to our website at ampmpodcast.com, and from there will be a link on the top right to get to our Facebook group. But definitely check it out. Over 13,000 people. And if you like this podcast or you like any of our podcasts, definitely subscribe and give us a review as well. That would be fantastic. That's it, guys. Until next time, my name is Manny Coates. This is the AMPM podcast, and I'll talk to you next time.
You've been listening to the AMPM podcast hosted by Manny Coates. For more information, insider tools, and to get the resources mentioned in this episode, visit ampmpodcast.com.